I wasn't going to do this, but I need to do it because it's important that the truth is put out, especially with the past few events, I feel. Um, so, of course, I'm speaking of the Tommy Robinson case. Um, I'm sure everyone is well aware now that he's gone to court and they gave him 18 months for contempt of court, which means he's going to serve 9 months. But I've seen, as much evidence as I need to see with this case. Um, and it's quite clear cut, really, to me. Um, and of course, it doesn't matter whether you've seen the film or not. You only need to know a few various facts to work out, something's not right. Um, Now, I've been in trouble with the police quite a lot in my time, and I've been in many courthouses, and so I know, how they work and so on, and I know the system quite well. Now, this all occurred inside a school to begin with, um, and it happened on the school playground. Now, again, because I've been to school, I know, that usually a spat like that between two boys in the playground will usually go no further than the school. You know, it will be dealt with in the school. The school teachers will sort it out, and that will be the end of it. Um, the problem is, of course, social media. One of the boys filmed it, um, and of course, all you could actually see on the film was one white boy going up to an Asian boy and flinging him to the floor and pouring water in his face. Um, and there wasn't really any sound, so you couldn't really hear anything. And that was it. That was it. Okay. There was no punching, there was no kicking, there was nothing else any really like that. After he poured the water in his face, he got off of him, and that was it. You know, that was the end. And now the Muslims made a huge, great big thing of this. They went down to the school en masse. They were outside the gates, thousands of them. I mean, apparently Ali Dowell was even up there. He lives in London. This was up north, and yet he managed to get up there within hours. So he must have run straight out of his house, jumped straight in his car, and drove straight up there. Um, you know, and so anyway, a big to do outside the school, and they were calling for the explosion of the boy, you know, from the school basically, and police were called and everything, And then it went on to the telly, and there was a big hoo-ha on the telly about it, and it was turning into a racist attack. Basically, they were putting it down to a racist attack, the white boy against the Syrian boy, and that was it. That was how it was portrayed as. Um, so anyway, this is now where Tommy, because what happened is, I mean, the boy had to be moved away because he was getting threats from the Muslim community, so they had to move him away. They moved him away and his mum to a safe house, but it was right next to mosques. So again, they were getting attacked. And this is where Tommy Robinson comes in, because he came in and he started to move the family to a more safer, location. And of course, he's then finding out the truth of what really happened. You know, and of course, the truth of what really happened is completely different from the narrative that was given out, similar to Manchester Airport. Um, so basically, what happened is this Syrian refugee had been attacking everybody in the school. It'd been attacking all the girls mainly, but he also attacked the boys that were younger than him and smaller than him and in years lower than him. Never had boys, the same size as him or bigger than him. Always the boys, smaller than him, and girls as well. That's how he managed to break his arm, because in the video his arm was broken. But one day he was beating up a younger boy, smaller than him, and a bigger boy came along and pushed him off of that boy. And as he fell down, he broke his arm. And that was again mentioned as part of the racist attacks against him. Well, no, he was attacking another young boy, and that's why they pushed him off of him. So anyway, Tommy then started, because they'd closed the school, they shut the whole school down. And the other thing with it as well was that they paid the teachers. They paid the teachers to stay quiet. Because Tommy went round to the houses, and he went round to the teachers' houses, and he was asking, and they were saying, "We can't speak to you. We cannot talk to you about this. We can't speak to you about it." And so obviously he knew something, but he wasn't sure what. So he went and got covert cameras and covert listening equipment, and he went back to them and spoke to them again. And said, "Look, why? Why can't you talk to me about?" And they told him, "We've been paid. The government paid us. They paid them. The teachers involved. They paid them £250,000 to not say nothing about what happened." And obviously Tommy was then digging deeper with them and saying, "Right, okay, well, what?" And they were telling him, the Syrian refugee was basically a huge troublemaker. He'd caused trouble with everybody. It beat up everybody. It threatened girls with rape. He lied. He was caught one day with a knife in his bag. And he was just constant trouble all the time. And one girl, they were playing hockey, and the girl took the ball off of him in hockey and was running away from him, and he whacked her in the back with a hockey stick, and he was constantly like this. And what happened is, the day before, the white boy flew him on the floor and poured water in his face, he'd attacked that boy's two sisters. That boy had two younger sisters at that school who were half caste. And the Syrian boy had attacked those two sisters and said he was going to rape them and rape their mother. And that's why the boy threw him on the floor. And he was warning him, stay away from my sisters, mate. Quite rightly. And this was the truth of what happened. And they paid all the teachers off to stay quiet, and they turned it into a racist row. The Syrian boy had a GoFundMe page start up, and he got £800,000 just from that GoFundMe page. And they shut the whole school down. All the rest of the teachers lost their jobs. They had to get new jobs. So Tommy went to court with the information that he had. And the information that he had, obviously he couldn't use the stuff that he'd got from the teachers because he'd done it covertly. But he did manage to get school reports from them on all the children who involved. He went to the court with 5 witnesses, 2 of the boy himself who was involved in it, who threw the Syrian to the ground, his 2 sisters, and another 2 children. One of them, the one who was hit with the hockey stick. And he had all the school reports on these children. One of them was a grade A student, never ever lied in her whole life, never done nothing wrong, wanted to go on to be a lawyer, was, exemplary across the board. Nothing bad in her school report whatsoever. The Syrian school report was terrible. Lying, caught with a knife in the bag, trouble. And so obviously Tommy, he thought he had the cast iron case, and he even said to some of the children, especially the one who was a grade A student who wanted to go on to be a lawyer, don't come to court because if it goes against you, it's going to ruin you. And she said, no, I want to go, I want to go. I want to tell the truth. I want to get, justice and put this right. Because the other guy, as I say, he was suffering badly. He'd had to be moved out of the area. Muslims were still hunting him. He was fearful for his life. It affected all his family, his other two sisters and his mother as well. And all he was doing was protecting his sisters, So anyway, they go to court. They give all the evidence, and the judge even sees some of the video evidence of Tommy questioning the teachers and whatnot, and them giving, some of their answers and stuff. And he's all the school reports, and all the children give the evidence as well. And the judge says all the children were lying, except for the Syrian. The Syrian was the only one telling the truth. So against all the evidence, the judge found in favour of the Syrian, against all the evidence. And as I say, he only was capable of doing that because there were only 5 children witnesses and the school reports. If the teachers involved, the head teacher, and I think it was 2 other teachers, maybe 3 other teachers, if they'd all gone to court and given evidence, which they said they would do, against the Syrian again and in favour of the other boy, the judge would not have been able to turn around and say, you're all lying. He wouldn't have been able to say all the children and all the teachers are lying. He wouldn't have been. He could not have given that as a liable case sentence for that case. He would have had to have found in favour of the other boy and against the Syrian. But because no teachers turned up, because they'd all been paid off £250,000, it was only the children. And the judge was able to say, you're all lying. Even though all the evidence suggests they weren't lying. And then after that, because the judge then found in favour of the Syrian, he then also said to Tommy, that's the point where he said to him, you cannot show that film. You're not allowed to show that film you've got, where you've got it with the teachers saying, they've been paid off, the teachers admitting that they would have, gone against the Syrian, the teachers admitting the Syrian was the one in the wrong, the judge said, no, you cannot show that film. If you show that film, you'll be in contempt of court. Why? Why did the judge make that, ruling? If that film didn't, have any evidence in it whatsoever to go against the judgment that he made in that case, there was no need for him to ban it. The only reason why he had to put a banning order on that film is because it proved he made the wrong judgment against all the evidence. Why would a judge do that? I mean, I don't know. I can't think why a judge would do that, I mean, maybe it's something to do with shiny paper. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, that's basically what's happened. And I've now seen that film. And I now know, because I know also a lot about Islam and the Quran and Muslims. The Quran actually teaches them to lie. It doesn't matter if they're against non-Muslims. If it's a Muslim against a non-Muslim, they must lie. They've got to lie. Doesn't matter what it's over. They've got to lie about everything. And that's in the book they follow, the Quran, from God, from their God. They have to lie. So, clearly, this is a miscarriage of justice big time. And this is why now, this is what I'm going to be doing for the next 9 months. I shall be doing lots of posts. I shall be doing um, lots of things, and it's all going to be about this same topic. So they paid the teachers £250,000 to stay quiet. The teachers admitted they would have gone to court against the Syrian if they were able to. The school was closed down. And that's the most telling part. Yes, you can agree with the judge and say all the other 5 children were lying, even though that goes against all the evidence, and the Syrian was telling the truth, even though that goes against all the school reports and the evidence. Yes, you can say that and side with the judge. But what you need to do is explain why, when it was a case that was on school property, where the best reliable witnesses would have been the head teacher and the teachers who were involved, why were they paid to stay quiet? Why were they paid to stay away from the courtroom and the court case? Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all when they are the best witnesses. If it's true the Syrian boy was the victim, again, the best witnesses to have been in the court to speak for the Syrian boy would have been the teachers. So why did they pay them to stay away? Because they knew the teachers would not have gone to court for the Syrian boy. The teachers would have gone to court for the other boy who lost. That's why they paid them to stay away. And it was the government who paid them to stay away. So we not only have, corruption in the government, we have corruption with the police, we have corruption with the judiciary, and high up end corruption all the way up to the judge. And the same sort of similar thing happened at Manchester Airport. They released the video in such a way to make it look like the victim was the attacker and the attacker was the victim. Hold on a minute. Where did that happen just recently before that at a school? Oh, yeah, at the case I've just been talking about. The victim was made to look like the attacker and the attacker was made to look like the victim. Exactly the same. And who were the attackers again in this case? Exactly the same as at the school. A Muslim. And what's happened with that case? Nothing. It's been totally forgotten about, and it will be. They won't be charged. Why not? Because whoever set that Manchester one up wanted it to go exactly the same as this school one. They were going to, they didn't want the beginning of that tape to be revealed. They didn't want that beginning of that tape to be revealed. Obviously, they paid people, who knew about the tape, and who had the opportunity to reveal the whole tape, not to reveal the beginning of the tape. Obviously, something didn't quite go to plan in that case, because somehow the beginning of that tape did get released, which they didn't want. So, this is why I'm going to be bringing this subject up to more and more and more now, because this is not going to be just isolated incidents now. This is going to be ongoing incidents in this country. Anytime anything happens with a non-Muslim and a Muslim, the chances are it's going to be the non-Muslim who's going to end up losing. So this is why we need to start getting this out, made aware. We need to start discussing this. We need to start Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, we need to start working out ways to stop this because this cannot continue. It can't continue. 5 children's lives were ruined at that school. Minimum, could be more than that because the whole school was shut. So we don't know how many in total were, ended up getting affected by it. But you can bet your bottom dollar all the kids at that school and all the teachers at that school knew what happened. They knew what happened. And they know that justice has not been served in this case any which way whatsoever. They know there has been children whose lives have been ruined through this, totally ruined, forever, for doing nothing, for doing what any other school child would have done. So, yeah, that's it basically, folks. I'm going to end this one here and I don't know how I savey wavy and all that sort of stuff. Oh, that sharey wary, that is. What's that button? Oh, that's start a polly, that is. How do I save the baby? I don't know. Do I end it and then save it? I don't know. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Well, I don't